Hello, 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 hello. Ah, such good freaking high frequency here, and so excited to share this with you and share today's topic with you, which is amazing and is kind of a mind shabib. I don't know how to say it. It messes up your mind because you're like, wait, what? It really gets you to question reality, right? And things that we know to be true that actually aren't true and what is true. So that's what we're diving into today. That's what you're diving into today with Anna and Udita, who are here with you. But first, Udita, you are so amazing at grounding us and opening us up to actually hearing and receiving. And can you please do that?
Yes, sure, sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So, wherever you are, just close your eyes and just tune into your body through your breath. Maybe it's your morning and you are just setting the intention for a day. What do you want to do? What do you want to feel in the day? Hmm. Or perhaps it's the evening and you're just, going through your day. What was the best moment of your day? What do you wanna, celebrate in the day? So tuning into your breath and into these thoughts, noticing what's happening in your body, noticing what kind of thoughts are coming through. Any judgment, any blame, anything what's, not maybe as positive, but you are not gonna judge yourself, even though you might feel these emotions. And I just want you to imagine that there is a earth beneath your feet, which is there always, always available. So notice with both of your feet on the ground, just saying, I am here. I am here right now. I deserve to be here. I have right to be here. I'm worthy of being here. I am. Another deep inhale and exhale. And wherever you're ready, feel free to open your eyes to be here with us, with me, and with Anna. Welcome.
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like we need to do a video just kind of taking apart even a meditation and really tuning into like the feeling of it because that was just so good and understanding the whys, behind it. Ah, that was really lovely. Thank you. Um, oh, I'm like, this is it. I'm like, what, do we need to talk about it? This is it. Just like, let's just be happy. Like that's how easy it is. I'm like in a completely different state than I was a few seconds ago. Yeah, I love what the topic that we're talking about today because it's one that all of us have to face, have to do, when we're getting on this path, right? When we're going into whether it's spirituality or whether it's personal growth. I feel like it's just being part of being human. And some of us, don't get me wrong, some people don't. I had a partner that was there just like, why do you ask these questions? Like, what is the meaning of life? Or like, how do I want to create? It's like, it just happens to you. And I'm like, oh God, no, right? And some people don't ask, but those of us who want to get on the path, who want to be in control of our reality, not like in a, I gotta control it, but it's like, I get to create it, right? Let's change that creation versus control. We get to understand and actually ask ourselves, like, wait a second, what did I believe that I thought was like, this is law, and it actually isn't? And it's a twist. Like your mind gets twisted into a pretzel because you're like, wait, what? It's kind of like quantum physics. Like it's a theory built on a theory built on a theory. And then if it's like one theory, like the base theory collapses, the whole thing just is done. It makes no sense. And it's kind of like that with our lives, I feel. And I'm sure that you've had so much of that as well in your experience. And having to do that, it's like, wait, I was taught that this is how life functions, and actually it isn't. Um, yeah, can you touch on some of those things, maybe some of those concepts in your own life that was like, wait, that's my perspective and not truth, right? What were some of those in your life?
Well, that's a very, very good question. I actually, what just came through was when we had a workshop with our teacher, Veronica. And I remember when I realized that you can be either waiter or either like, or a creator, right?
Mm,
Because I
I
just
love
like,
that. Waiter creator.
yeah, so in my mind, I was just, oh, wow, I have to work hard. I have to really like, do things a
Mm,
certain way. I am blaming my parents for my life, the way like, what happened to me. And I will wait for my life to happen, for my dreams to happen, and I will be like, dreaming about it. And one day, they will happen. And I remember realizing that actually I am here first to take my personal responsibility for my own actions. And that was already so powerful for me to realize that I am actually responsible for everything, all the choices and everything I've done in my life. But in my perspective, like from the beginning, it was like, it's everyone else's fault. It's everyone else's fault. Life like, and then when somebody told me like life can be easy, I was like, no, or this is like,
mm,
your reality. And I was like, oh my God, like no freaking way. So when I was able to reconnect with myself, to reconnect with my inner self, with my body, with my soul, with my like, purpose of like, living my dreams, that's when I became a creator.
mm.
And that's when my like, shift happened as well, like the perspective on the life and whatever was happening in my life happened. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense when I'm talking
Yeah,
about
and
it
I love
like
what you said.
that.
It's like
Yeah.
that's your, when someone told you, it's like, oh, that's your reality. Emphasize on the your, your is all in
Yeah.
capital. Your
Yeah.
reality. That's not reality,
Yeah.
that's your reality. And be like, wait, what? And actually understand like, oh my God, we're living in different realities. And yeah, I've so had these moments, and especially having some, it's like you can have one occurrence and different people will have a different experience of it. And it's like, oh, that's not what happened for me. I was happy in that moment. They're like, that was horrible, and that was a horrible experience. I was like, that was your horrible experience. I was not on board with that. I'm like, I'm in La La Land, everything's amazing. I didn't experience that same thing as you did. And you get to really notice that. And it's so cool when you can have different people. Um, because that's a disservice. I want to address this, what's coming up right now. Because we feel like when, let's say you and I, right, we witness the same occurrence and you're like, oh my God, that was horrible. And I'm like, oh, I don't see it that way. That was great for me. And I feel like, oh, I'm a bad person or I don't have compassion if I don't say, oh, yeah, that was. And it's like I don't try to see it from your, lower perspective. And I'm not giving you a service because then you're not, you're stuck where you're at. And my perspective is not available to you because I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm feeling better, so therefore I need to adapt to you.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, all good. And then like what would actually serve you and me is for me to stay. I'm like, I have a great time. I feel great. And this is what my perspective was that. And then you join me in that or you don't. And it's your choice. So it's kind of like the person who has the highest frequency gets to keep going, but we don't tend to do that. We're taught that, oh no, the person who's lower, everybody needs to join them there. Yeah, what came up for you?
Oh my God, when you were saying that, I saw totally like, like this picture of me with my friends of like they are sharing something like really like, hard, and I'm like present there listening, having that compassion, but I'm smiling. and they freaking think that like, I'm
Like,
rude and
what's
there's
wrong with
something
you?
wrong with me. Yeah. Because I am jumping on their frequency of like, kind of rolling in that miserable negative feeling of what happened. But them not realizing that actually I am taking them out with me on the
Yes.
ride, which it feels much better than their ride. And then
Yeah.
after that, actually, like when I didn't know how to work with that, I felt so guilty. I felt so weird. I felt like there's something wrong with me until I actually realized, oh my God, no, my light and my joy is like, is the purpose of me being here to share that, right? It's
Yeah.
just and it's not like that I don't have compassion for like things which are happening, but there will be always something happening in the world. There will be always something happening in people's lives. There'll be
Yes.
always a story, right? It will be
There are
never
always
ending
reasons to be
story.
upset, and there are also
Yes.
always reasons to be happy, and you get to choose that. Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Hmm.
want I want to emphasize something that you said because you're like, oh, it doesn't, I'm not realizing. This is where the concept of personal responsibility comes in. You cannot be responsible for other people. And all of you guys watching, I want like there will so be a gap. That person who's lower down, they're not going to say, thank you so much for smiling as I'm telling you my pain. You're really contributing to society and to, me and my well-being right now. They're not going to see it like that. They're going to see, well, you're a B. Like, what is wrong with you? You're so insensitive. Because they want to be, they want to be down there and they want to drag you down there unconsciously. It's not because they're bad people. I know that I have that with you, Judita, when sometimes I'm like telling you and venting, and you're like, so let me tell you about my day. And I'm like, ah. No, get sucked into my story. But I'm aware of that. And when you love someone, you don't want to suck them lower where you're at. And if you're unable to reach them where they're, it's like, okay, this is me, this is where I am in my bubble. And just loving yourself. And there's so many elements of what we're discussing. And we discussed this in so many other videos, because there's the element of whether if you're negative or in the positive space, there's no negative positive, but you know what I mean, like lower or higher. Can you just hold yourself? Can you like be okay with that instead of trying to fix it? Because that doesn't feel good when your friend is up there and you're down here. There's a gap, and that's the gap that doesn't feel good. Even with yourself, it doesn't feel good because you have that. I know what's possible. I know where my soul is guiding me to, and I'm not there right now. There's a big gap between that. That's why it feels so icky. And there is this. And for the person who is, somewhere else, like, hey, you do you. I'm just happy. Um, that's the concept of personal responsibility. You can be miserable enough to make someone else happy, and you're just responsible for you. And can the other person have a choice? You don't need to fix them because we oftentimes try to do that. Like, if I'm trying to make you feel better, I'm basically judging you, saying, like, oh, you poor thing, you don't have what it takes to feel better on your own, right? And I'm also trying to make you feel better so that I'm more comfortable. It's like, well, I don't like my friend not liking me. So let me put myself down so we're on the same page so that you like me a little bit better because I don't want to be rejected, And it's like personal responsibility, noticing where is it that we're making it about ourselves and about our own insecurities and not really about the other person. Because the price for your own freedom is to give freedom to another. And that means sometimes giving the other people freedom to be miserable, right? Freedom to be upset, freedom to judge you. And that's when you're truly free. Yeah.
Mm.
Anything
That
else
was
coming
beautiful.
up for you with this?
No, actually nothing because you just like, downloaded it so
Wrapped it up.
well and you just described it and I'm like, oh my God, I would never ever be like able to describe it so beautifully like as
Good,
you
good. I'm glad it
just did.
landed.
I'm just thinking it, but I can't really express it and say it that way.
You're
So that's
contributing to the frequency so that I'm the spokesperson for the both of us for like the
no,
energetic download that we're getting. Beautiful. I
beautiful,
do want to
beautiful.
just dive into quickly before we end because it's such as the concept that I want to kind of like the conversation went somewhere else. It's such a powerful place, but I want to bring it a little bit back to how we need validation and it's really all made up. Like I remember when I first started channeling and I got this download of like, no, not the seven energy centers, the four. And it was according to the four elements. And I got, the in the way in which they are, like which one comes first and so on. And I was like, oh, okay, let's look for it. Like, let's search online for it. And I couldn't find it. And it was so annoying and frustrating because I'm like, well, I need validation that this is real or that I can use it. Like I needed this structure to be available somewhere else to be like, oh, okay, I'm on the right path, right? And we need these like concepts when we feel something and like, oh, no, I can't do that because that's not a social concept, right? And long story short, I did find that like 6 months later. That was like an old Tibetan practice that didn't even exist anymore. Um, and that gave me validation, like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. And that's the thing. It's like we need that validation that, like, oh, my wants have the right to be. I think we spoke about that in relationship as well. I was just like, I need my own space. I know that I will never again share a room with a person. And then I heard this on a podcast, this woman who's like, oh yeah, she was talking about human design. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a projector. So like my partner and I, we just have different rooms. And I'm like, oh my God, I can have that. Like I can have both. I can be in a relationship and just have my own space. Like what? And I needed someone else to experience that to tell me like as an authority figure, you can have what you want, right? Something that feels good to me. But no, I need someone to validate that to say, I give you permission, right? And how messed up is that? Especially
Mm,
understanding that the concepts that give permission are made up. And you and I
mm,
spoke about this. I read this amazing book, by the way. Anybody who like loves Jungian psychology, you're gonna love this, by Robert A. Johnson. He wrote He, She, and We, and he like takes apart a myth and explains the masculine, feminine psychology, and also the psychology of love. And in We, he spoke about how the concept of romantic love was made up, right? Because people didn't get married for love. It was about to unite lands, to unite families, to, you have children because you need someone to work the farm. So there was no concept of love. And then love was made up as, patriarchy came in and the feminine and like the connection to the divine was put on the back burner. And we needed something to connect us to the divine. And the concept of love was made up. And some of the stories and myths that came to be around, the 12th century, that it's a concept, but we live with that. Or like, oh no, that always existed. It's like, did it? You know? And how many of these things that right now it's like when we all have this on the spiritual path. Edita, I know you had that. I had that. We all had that. We're like, oh, this is woo-woo. And that's not accepted by society. And then realizing like this was like the most common thing not so far ago, right? But now it's this like, oh, I don't have the validation to do that, right? And we're looking for these like outside ways. Yeah, and I just really want to address that because this is where like your mind goes into a pretzel of like what I believe to be true is not truth, it's an opinion and it's a perspective. And when you can take your power back, it's freaking transformational from that understanding. Like it's just an opinion. Everything you're living is an opinion. Yeah, what was your experience of that? And what are some of these maybe concepts that you're like, oh my God, yeah.
yeah, oh my God, this is just like like what was just coming up to for me was like few years back, maybe before the pandemic, the mindfulness and everything, all the practices from the mindfulness were so far away, like being used in the companies or in a day-to-day life. And now when I look around me, like so many people are using these woo-woo practices because they've been validated over and over, through some famous people, through some speakers, through some doctors and other people, right? So they've been just taken as a normal thing. But before it was like, oh no, this is like not, right. And I was just so like blown away when you were like speaking about the validation of how I was also like in that, like feeling that I need to be validated for whatever I was doing when I was like, opening myself to new skills and just feeling that I have to fit into the society with what I'm doing, who I am, how am I expressing myself, right? And then
Hmm.
when you just like realize what is actually the truth, like, what is like everyone has a different perspective on the truth and everyone is really seeing things
And it's all
differently.
made up. It's all made up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just like, realize, wow. I will actually look into myself and what is it that I want and what can I
Yes.
like have and change in my life and not really like, focus on myself, how I can change others and yeah, and how can I have my own reality and live in my own reality and in my own bubble kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And really enjoy it and have a fun and enjoyment and playfulness and a really bliss and all these like beautiful emotions which we are not really learned in the society to have because we've been so programmed and we've been so programmed of like feeling more negatively, right? And just go down that path instead of actually feeling good and knowing that that's our normal state.
And it's
Mm.
so good and it feels so good to do that. Just like that's the natural thing. Like if you actually let go of your mind, that's the natural state. Yeah, and I mean this is really the work
Yeah,
that we do, you know, and like this is
yeah.
it. That it's
Sorry, but
like, yeah.
like when you said like at the well, like before our call when you like when you were laughing that I said, "Oh, have a good day," and then I realized, "Oh, no, 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 have the day you really want to have."
Because you
That's
will. You inevitably
yeah.
will, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really like, like change what kind of day you're gonna have. It's your own responsibility and your own experience. So your experience will be different than mine, right? Whatever I say. Sorry,
Mm.
that's just what I wanted to say.
I love that. And that's yeah, it's like your experience will be whatever you want it to be. I love that. And this is the work that we do, right? Because some people may be watching here and they're like, okay, well, how do you understand what's true and what isn't? And how do you like consciously, because it feels like a lot, especially when you're first starting. It's like, this is a lot and there's a lot of things to take apart. Like, wait, what is my belief about this? What is my belief about this? Because we're just like taking in without asking ourselves, is this right for me or not? And similarly, as I experienced with, my channeling, like the four elements as energy centers, we are so disconnected from ourselves that even when this truth, like our truth comes in, we just put it away. We're like, no, no, that can't be right. Or because we don't trust ourselves. And this is the work of, you know, you are here not to fit someone else's box that is made up, right? Is made up. And most we don't even like the most boxes. That's the crazy thing. It's like if we were in other people's boxes it at least worked. Okay. But they don't, and we're all miserable and we're like, "Oh, this doesn't work." And it's like, "Okay, so how do we know what's right?" And you do that by being this perfect part of the mechanism that is life. And this is the work that Udita and I do, whether in group containers, also one-on-one work, that how can you tune into you? What does that look like? And clearing the things that are standing in your way, the doubts, the fears, the limiting beliefs that actually enable you to connect to you so you can hear you, so you can live the life that is true, like true, your truth. And also coming into the right relationship, which is what we were just talking about before we got on this call. Like what I was saying, like your truth is ever evolving and learning to dance with it and learning not to be like, okay, this is right for me and this like rigidness, this is what I have to create. It's like being open to life and co-creating with, but you can't possibly trust that when you don't trust you, when you don't trust your center, when you don't even know what your center feels like, right? Um, and this is what we want to share with you guys. We're going to be starting a container in January that you can find more out about in the description below. There's going to be, you guys can reach out to us if it resonates with you. This one is just for women, but also the one-on-one work that Udita does and I do, in our own way. I feel like Udita, you're more like, somatic experience. For me, I like to go with the ego and with the mind, but it's also elements of, both, in our work. It's just that's the kind of the emphasis, the what we lead with. Um, because this is so important. It was the scariest realization for me when I realized like, oh my God, 95% of your life is subconscious. 90, you're not responsible. Like you're not consciously choosing. You're responsible, but you're not consciously choosing 95% of your life. And part of
I
conscious living is taking that power back. It's tuning into how does this feel in my body? It's living consciously, and it becomes so easy once you let go of these patterns. Yeah.
yes, and like to take that step because I love when you said you can hear you and what was coming is truth is you hearing you. Like,
Yes. Love
and
that.
I'm like, that can be you. That's you.
That is
You
you.
just like, yeah, so this is you. Mm.
Yeah, so please reach out to us if this resonates. Let us know below in the comments what landed for you and what was your t we had so many like we kind of had two different topics that I love today. It was so powerful. Yeah, let us know what you heard and we will see you guys soon again. Much love. Thank you.
Thank you.